In this episode, number 40 of Spooky Coop, Paul and Michelle take you on a harrowing journey down the darkest stretches of America's highways. In the first half, they uncover the terrifying true stories of long-haul trucker serial killers. Then the duo shifts gears, diving into the eerie world of ghostly hitchhikers. Hi everyone, I'm Paul.
And I'm Michelle.
And you're in
The
Spooky Coop.
Welcome to the Spooky Coop. Hope you're not chicken.
Hello, Michelle.
Hey, Paul. How's it going?
Doing fantastic, thank you. How are you?
Oh, not so bad today.
That's good. That's good. Hey there, spooky friends. Welcome to another episode of Spooky Coop, the podcast where the weird, the wild, and the downright unexplainable hitch a ride with us every week. I'm Paul.
And I'm Michelle. And if you're here, buckle up because you know you're here to hear the deep and creepy phenomenal...
Rented lips.
Yeah, I better give them back. I'm getting them all worn out. Anyway, you're here to stop in to have a laugh along the way and maybe experience some interesting paranormal stuff.
Tonight's episode starts on the open road. Long stretches of highway, truck stops lit by buzzing neon lights, and the kind of isolation that makes you question every shadow in your rear view mirror.
That's right, because we're taking a look at long-haul truckers. But not just any truckers. We're diving into the dark world of serial killers who use the open road as their hunting grounds.
And as I've said before, the main thing about serial killers,
oh, God.
their motto, everyone needs a hobby.
Oh, God, why can't they just take up knitting or pickleball or something?
It sounds like something out of a horror movie, but it's real. Long-haul trucking, with its constant travel and remote stops, has been linked to some truly terrifying crimes. Law enforcement even has a special task force called the Highway Serial Killings Initiative.
Yeah, but not all serial killers are long-haul truckers, and not all long-haul truckers are serial killers. My dad, at one point, was a long-haul trucker, and despite popular opinion, he was not a serial killer. Though I'll tell you, he could put down a bunch of Captain Crunch really fast.
Okay.
Yeah. You should see what he did to Count Chocula.
I've wondered about your dad.
Yeah.
That maybe explains so many things. God rest his soul.
Yeah. But he wasn't a serial killer.
Let's start with Robert...
Not that we know of.
Ben Rhodes.
He was never caught anyway.
Robert Ben Rhodes. He's also known as the truck stop killer. From 1975 to 1990, Rhodes transformed his truck into a mobile torture chamber. He would pick up hitchhikers or sex workers, imprison them in his rig, and commit unspeakable acts.
Yeah, we should do something deep into each one of these sometime in the future. I think we will.
He was finally caught when police pulled him over and discovered a woman chained up in his cab.
Yeah, that was awful. And then there was Bruce Mendenhall. I think that's how he said his name, Mendenhall?
Mm-hmm.
Mendenhall, yeah. He was arrested in 2007 at a truck stop in Tennessee. Police contacted him they contacted him too, but they connected him to multiple murders over several states. They found blood, weapons, and other evidence in his trucks. He claimed he was evident. He said, "Hey man, I am completely innocent," but the evidence told a totally different story.
And we can't forget Keith Hunter Jesperson, better known as the Happy Face Killer.
Who was that? I forgot him.
Keith Hunter Jesperson.
Oh, that's who you said. I had forgotten him.
Better known as the Happy Face Killer, a long-haul trucker who killed at least 8 women between 1990 and 1995. He earned his nickname by sending letters to the press and then signing them with a happy face doodle.
I wonder if that's part happy face, part poodle. A happy doodle.
Oh, God. It was a classic case of killer craving attention.
Well, they mix everything with poodles these days. Have you heard of the Siamese doodle? That's the cat doodle. Never mind. Anyway, there's also Wayne Adams Ford.
Adam Ford.
Yeah.
Wayne Adam Ford.
Wayne Adam Ford.
Not to be confused with Bruce Wayne.
Adam Ford. Hey, I have a question about Bruce Wayne.
What?
He like had his parents die, and he's like really upset with it. And one day he comes into his fortune, billions and billions of dollars, right?
Right.
And Alfred comes over and he says, "Well, Master Bruce, now that you've come into billions of dollars of money," he said. And he says, "Yes, I want to stop Gotham from all of this crime and horror." And so at that point, Alfred probably says something like, "Yes, and here are all these wonderful charities and homeless situations and all these people who are in need."
That's right. And what does he say?
"No, but dress me up like a bat. I want to go." Instead of using his billions of dollars to help people.
Can we press on with Wayne Adam Ford?
Oh, yeah, okay. Wayne Adam Ford, he walked into the police station one day and he was carrying some woman's boobs. He cut off her breasts.
Oh.
And he just took these breasts out of his pockets. Either had big pockets or the poor unfortunate woman. Anyway, he took the breasts out of his pockets and said to the police, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to
wait for my stomach to stop flipping over.
Yeah, and
oh, God.
And he said, "This is it.
Yeah.
This is what I've been doing too long."
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily he confessed they didn't catch him. How long could he have kept going without them catching him?
A hobby he couldn't maintain.
He really should have just taken up fishing or
Then it still gives me the chills thinking about that. And then there's John Wayne Boyer, Donald Leroy Evans.
What's the Wayne? John Wayne Casey, John Wayne Adams Ford, John Wayne. Anyway,
that's right. There's a lot of them there.
Yeah.
Crossed names. And then, so we're at John Wayne Boyer, Donald Leroy Evans, and Adam Lane. They're all truckers, all killers, leaving a trail of horror across the highways.
In the future, let's just tell everybody, we're going to take a really deep dive, I think, into each of these people over the next, coming shows and coming months. I think that would be a really good idea, because a lot of these people, even though they all have serial killing on the road, they all have their own MOs that would be fascinating.
Funny you should say that, because tonight we're going to talk in more detail about two of these long-haul truckers who use the open road as their hunting ground. Hunter Jesperson, the happy-face killer, and Adam Lane, the highway killer.
Cool. Let's start with Keith Hunter Jesperson.
Jesperson.
He was born in 1955 in British Columbia. That's in Canada. And he grew up in a troubled house with an abusive father and a reputation for cruelty towards animals, which is a red flag for this type of behavior. Though it has to be said, not all serial killers grew up that way, though many did.
That's right. He became a long-haul trucker in the late 1980s, and that's when the killings began. His first known victim was Tanja Bennett, I hope I pronounced that right, in 1990. Jesperson strangled her in his home in Portland, Oregon, and dumped her body. But what's bizarre is that another couple...
But he wasn't trucking at the time, if she was in his home, unless he lived in his truck.
But what's bizarre is that...
No comment.
But what's bizarre is that another couple, Laverne Pavlinac and her boyfriend, John Sosnowski, falsely confessed to the murder, hoping to escape an abusive relationship.
Oh, she confessed it so she'd get away from him?
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
So Jesperson was really angry when that happened. He was like, somebody else is getting credit for this crime. And he began leaving anonymous confessions everywhere. And here's where really the happy face killer thing started to happen. That's where the name came, because he would start like when he killed people, he'd start leaving happy faces with the police or with the media, signing these notes with smiley faces as a like strange calling card. Because after they took credit for his first killing, he was so ticked off that as he went up and down the highway killing other people, he'd send notes and sign them with smiley faces to make sure nobody ever got the credit for his killings again.
Over the course of 5 years, Jesperson killed at least 8 women, many of them sex workers or women down on their luck, picking them up along his trucking routes.
You ever notice how it's mostly women?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would strangle his victims and often brag about how easily he could get away with it, using the vast highway system as his personal killing field.
You know, it's funny because is it that they have something, this psychological sickness? I don't know. I'm not even going to go there. Obviously, they're sick.
It's a whole field understanding the nature of psychopathy.
Yeah.
Goodness knows, something's broke.
Yeah.
You wonder if there was any soul there to begin with.
Yeah, and someone said everyone's born inherently good, but maybe they're not. Who knows? Anyway.
Some people, look at Ted Bundy, a childhood friend, said that he seemed to be missing something. He just didn't seem to get how to fit in with life when he was a child.
When they started doing MRIs on the brains of people who are psychopathic. When they started doing things on their brains, they saw that they had different parts of the brain just wouldn't activate. Anyway, in 1995, this guy, when he decided he was going to try to kill his girlfriend, of all things.
Yeah, Julianne Winningham.
Yeah. And but unlike his other victims, she was someone he knew. And in connection with her death, it became obvious. His girlfriend dies, and then they find that it was just too close of a murder. And then when they caught him, he finally confessed. I don't think it was out of guilt. I think it was, out of self-preservation.
Geez, it's the cops. They found me standing over this dead body.
Yeah, and it happens to be my girlfriend. I didn't know her.
He's serving multiple life sentences in Oregon, but he's claimed to have killed as many as 160 people. Most experts doubt that number, but the true count may never be known.
Yeah, that's the thing. Are they bragging? Anyway, let's shift gears to Adam Lane. Wasn't that Wayne Adam Lane or Adam Wayne Lane? Adam Lane Wayne.
Keep it simple.
Anyway, another long-haul trucker with a deadly secret. Lane was known as the Highway Killer, and his crimes took place in 2007.
Unlike Jesperson, Lane's killing spree was brief but brutal. He targeted random victims along the East Coast, prowling rest stops and truck stops anywhere the highways intersected with isolated areas.
Yeah, his first confirmed murder was Darlene Walt? Is that Ewald?
Darlene Ewald.
Yeah, a woman he killed right outside her own home in Pennsylvania. Lane had parked his truck nearby and attacked her with a knife, leaving a gruesome crime.
What's chilling is how opportunistic Lane was. He didn't stalk his victims for long. He would find someone vulnerable, strike, and then disappear back onto the open road.
Yeah, it was like hit and run.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they captured him was one night he came to a house, not on a highway. He actually stopped at someone's house. Maybe he needed something, food or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it was in New Jersey. He broke into an actual house, but the father of the house was able to fight him off and call the police. And when the police got there, they arrested him, and they found a bloody knife that linked him to all the murders on the highway.
He was convicted of multiple killings and is now serving life in prison. Investigators believe he may have had more victims, though the full scope of his crimes remains uncertain.
So he's one of the serial killers who isn't bragging about how many crimes. He's shutting his mouth about it.
Right.
Anyway, it's truly unsettling how many nomadic lifestyle killers there are, slipping through the cracks. How many really are there? There are deaths in different jurisdictions around the country that police in different stations may not be connecting to police in other stations because everyone is going from one state to another, it creates a perfect storm for these criminals to go unnoticed. It's important to remember that the vast majority, like my dad, are hard-working truckers who are just moving our economy along. If it wasn't for truckers moving goods from here to there and everything, the economy of the place, of our country and of other countries around us, and other countries indeed who have truckers, wouldn't keep going. Mm-hmm. When you drive by a truck, you can't assume you're driving by a serial killer.
They're an intrinsic part of our economy.
Yeah.
Yes, I suppose what makes it a novelty is the disproportionately high number for the trade compared to others. Though it doesn't,
I don't know. We never had a survey of how many carpenters
or accountants
or
lawyers.
Oh well, there's a lot of lawyers. You know what they say?
And doctors.
Excuse me, lawyers, but you know what they say, the difference between rats and lawyers?
What?
Some people like rats.
And we have a very mean lawyer.
Well, it's good to have a mean lawyer. Yes, we do. We have a very mean lawyer.
Sorry, Fred. It makes you wonder what other dark secrets the highways hold. The FBI still has dozens of open cases connected to their highway serial killings initiative. So next time you're at a truck stop late at night,
don't be there.
Maybe grabbing a cup of coffee or stretching your legs, keep an eye on those passing rigs. You never know what or who might be inside. But let's shift gears, pun absolutely intended, because the road isn't just home to true crime. It's also a hot spot for some of the strangest, most unexplainable paranormal stories.
Oh, that's right, for sure. When we're driving into chilly territory.
Ghostly hitchhikers, a haunted rest stop, or even a phantom truck might pass by your view. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Spooky Coop. Hey everyone, if you're interested in some merchandise from Spooky Coop, just head on over to spookycoop.com and click on the merchandise tab. If you're interested in sharing a link, click on the collaborations tab. You'll see we have some great links there and some great link ideas. If you're interested in advertising, simply email info@spookycoop.com. That's it for now. Let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Spooky Coop, where the strange and supernatural hitch a ride with us every week. I'm Paul.
And I'm still Michelle. And if you've just joined us now, we just spent the first half talking about serial killers driving the world of long-haul trucking. But now we're shifting gears, literally talking about some of the equally spine-chilling, ghostly hitchhikers.
These stories are classic. A driver picks up a lone figure on the side of a dark road, someone pale, often quiet, and then, without warning, they vanish. No trace, just an empty seat and a lingering sense of dread.
Yeah, and tonight we're spotlighting two of the most famous ghostly hitchhikers led in the United States, Resurrection Mary from Chicago and the Dancing Hitchhiker of South Carolina. But before we get into that...
North Carolina.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm dyslexic. But before we get into that, I wanted to tell you about the vanishing car of Route 3, all right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are going to say, my God, stuff like that has happened. Because this happens whenever I tell anybody about this, they're like, oh my God, that's happened to me. All right. There's this section of the road out here, and people will see cars coming from behind them on this road, and it'll come up alongside. It'll be they'll think it went into the blind spot, mm-hmm. and then they'll look behind them to make sure before they turn or something, mm-hmm. and there won't be any car there. Even if they're on a back road, near that spot, like off the highway, but on a back road, mm-hmm. they'll see a car coming behind. It'll be behind them, and then they'll look again, and it's gone.
It's gone.
It hasn't pulled into any driveways. It hasn't pulled off of any exits. It's the same like dark-colored Toyota. It's behind them, and then it vanishes.
If this has happened to you, Email us at sendittospookycoop.
Yeah, and I've talked to other people in other states, and they say it's happened. They've seen it too, where they thought they were 100% sure there was a car next to them when they were driving, and then they look and it's gone. So it's sort of the same thing.
Let's start with Resurrection Mary.
Yeah, let's do that.
Picture this. A cold night in Justice, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. You're driving down Archer Avenue, a lonely road lined with old street lamps, when you see her.
Oh, no. She's young, blonde, and in a white party dress. Why is it never chartreuse?
I don't know. Why isn't it chartreuse? You want velvet? We got velvet. Go ahead.
Maybe a pair of delicate dancing shoes. She looks lost, standing there near Resurrection Cemetery. Not at, but near. Thumbing for a ride. It must be the 60s. She's thumbing for a ride.
Countless drivers have claimed to stop for her. She slips into the back seat, barely saying a word, giving only vague directions. But when the car passes the cemetery gates, she disappears. Just gone.
The legend dates back to the 1930s. I didn't know they hitchhiked back then. Maybe she was just doing something else but putting out her thumb. But most people believe Mary was a young woman who had an argument with her date at a dance hall.
In the O. Henry Ballroom.
Yeah, the O. Henry Ballroom. I forgot about the name of that ballroom. Thank you for remembering.
It's now known as the Willowbrook Ballroom.
Why do you have such a good memory? Anyway, she stormed out and decided to walk home by herself, but she never made it. Some say that she was killed in a car accident along the way, and that eventually she was buried in that cemetery. That she might have been killed where they see her, and then she was buried in that cemetery.
Somewhere along Archer Avenue.
I always wondered if somebody picked her up and they had one of those cars that they had to flip the front seat forward for her to get into the back.
I don't know.
If she would have just sat in the front seat?
The sightings have never stopped. In the 1970s, a cab driver even reported picking up a girl matching Mary's description. He said she directed him to the cemetery, and as they arrived, she simply vanished from the back seat.
And she didn't even leave a tip.
No.
I hate it when ghosts are cheap. You know? It gets weirder. In 1976, at Resurrection Cemetery, they discovered the bars of the cemetery gate had been pried apart. I assume that because the bars had been locked. And two blackened handprints had scorched the metal. People swear that it was Mary trying to get back to her grave. That is really strange, though, because you would think a ghost would just pass through them. Maybe it was somebody trying to break into the cemetery. Who knows?
It all adds to the air
of mystery.
Now, let's take a trip down to North Carolina.
You sure it's not South Carolina?
North Carolina.
Okay.
To Jamestown, just outside Greensboro, where drivers have reported picking up the dancing hitchhiker.
La cucaracha.
La cucaracha.
Oh, that's not North Carolina. That's South Mexico.
She danced a hunting dance. Go.
Locals known her as Lydia. Lydia, oh Lydia, the dancing. Anyway, the story goes that Lydia was a young woman in the 1920s who had gone out dancing with friends, and on her way home along a lonely stretch of road near a bridge, she tragically was struck by a car, or maybe a truck, and it killed her.
Since then, people say they've seen a girl in a white gown. Why is it always white?
I don't know.
Not chartreuse.
Powder blue? I mean, why would you go to a dance dressed in white?
Standing by the roadside, asking for a ride. She's quiet but polite, often giving an address not far away. But just like Resurrection Mary, when the car reaches the bridge where she died, she disappears.
One driver in the 1940s claims that he gave her a ride, and after she vanished, he went to the address that she'd given him, and an elderly woman answered the door and explaining that her daughter, Lydia, had died decades before.
Some witnesses even report faint music. Are you sure it's decades and not years?
I must have been decades, because if it's in the 40s and she died in the 20s, that's at least 2 decades.
Some witnesses even report faint music when they see Lydia, like the distant echo of a long-forgotten dance. Others say they feel an intense cold in the car moments before she disappears.
2 ghostly women in white, forever wandering roads where their life was tragically cut short. Hitchhike rides to nowhere.
So the next time you're driving down a dark, lonely road and you see a pale figure on the side of the highway, think twice before you pull over.
Especially if they're wearing white. You know, if they're wearing like tie-dye, or if they're wearing...
Safe. Absolutely safe.
They're wearing regular clothes and they need a ride. You know, just make sure you take a metal detector out first.
But white is right out.
Yeah. You know, if they're all dressed... Unless you have a video camera, you know, or something that you can like put on them to make sure it's real. Yep. Because if your passenger might not be heading anywhere at all except for the strange paranormal.
So that's our spooky story for today.
Yeah.
We started with long-haul trucker serial killers, and then, to some extent, the byproduct of their
The
work,
long haul.
ghostly hitchhikers.
Do you know that there are lots and lots of videos of people seeing people in white or ghostly figures? Mm-hmm. I saw one recently of a ghostly figure walking right across a highway, and people just right through it. One guy skidding to a stop because he saw it, but there was no one there after the truck passed.
Yeah, that's enough to just make your heart stop and take a double skip afterwards, isn't it?
Yep.
When you see something that is there and suddenly isn't,
It's amazing.
or when something isn't there and then just suddenly appears
Yeah.
out of nowhere, it's just suddenly there, it just completely discombobulates your senses.
Yeah, and you wonder for a minute, what?
What
Am I crazy?
the heck was that?
Yeah, but anybody out here seen any ghostly things like that? Just appear out of nowhere, pick up a ghostly visitor. People have seen. There are people who swear that they've picked up Elvis on the road to Graceland.
It's sort of hard for me to swallow some of that, because they may well have dressed up someone who was dressed up. Someone who was
they picked up
the
somebody,
actual
and
Elvis.
when they got they looked like Elvis, not like Elvis in the big white suit, but you know, Elvis in the
Don't
like,
imitate
as a young
Elvis.
man.
Please don't imitate Elvis. You don't do it well.
I can do Michael. I can't do
don't,
Michael Jackson.
Don't imitate. I'm going to cut all that out.
No, you're not. You can do. He can. That he looks like a young man, sometimes carrying a guitar, and people think he's an Elvis impersonator
Right.
going to Graceland, maybe for a job, or he's maybe one of the impersonators that work there, and they usually pick him up, you know, because he's down the road and he looks tired. But by the time they get to Graceland, they're pulling up, they're talking to him, and he's in the back seat. And by the time they get there, all of a sudden he's gone.
He's doing that just for fun and entertainment
You
in
think
the
so?
spirit realm. Yeah, I have a feeling that in the realm of the dead, he's sitting in a bar somewhere, sucking back some whiskey,
did
playing
you
his
hear-
guitar and having a great time.
Did you hear about the a whole bunch of people got scammed recently because supposedly the people who own Graceland were selling it off, and they tried to sell it to people. They went around telling people they were selling it, and some people actually put down deposits to buy it. You know what I mean? I mean, these are people who wouldn't believe in ghosts, but they believe they're buying Graceland for $100.
Let's not go there. Those poor people. I feel bad for them.
But that's okay.
So, folks, if you've enjoyed today's story, please like us.
And subscribe.
And please subscribe. It's
And
how
share us on your favorite social.
it's how we grow the channel. So, be safe, be happy. We wish you a week of hope and wonder.
And stay spooky.
And stay spooky. Until next time, when
we
we see you
in the spooky